so nice to see you again. Happy New Year! Today I want to talk about I Am Legend movie versus book. Now, a little while ago I did a video about I Am Legend the movie, the remake, versus the original Last Man on Earth. If you haven't seen that video, I'm going to link it down below. You might want to watch that one first because I kind of talk about the differences between the two movies. I'm just going to quickly go over it right now. I Am Legend, I'm assuming most people know what that movie is about. It's about a vaccine that was made to cure cancer, and it turned most of the population into these like vampire zombie monster things. And then Last Man on Earth is about pretty much just vampires and about how the last man on Earth is just trying to like understand the vampires and survive. Robert Neville is the character in I Am Legend, but he's also the character in the book I Am Legend, but in Last Man on Earth his name is different. I know, so confusing. Today I just wanted to talk about how this is both the same and different to I Am Legend and The Last Man on Earth. Let's just get into it. Well, first, this is a 1954 novel by Richard Matheson. It is called I Am Legend, and so let's talk about how it relates to I Am Legend. There aren't too many similarities. I mean, the general concept obviously is the same. It's Robert Neville and he's trying to survive amongst these monsters, but other than that, I think it's much more like Last Man on Earth. In I Am Legend, they obviously have the same name, Robert Neville. There are flashbacks, and they're kind of revealed in small amounts through the book and the film, which I really enjoyed. In Last Man on Earth, you just kind of get like a huge dump of all of the flashbacks at once. So it's not really revealed slowly like it is in this film. Same like in the movie, he steals vampires to kind of conduct tests on them. He's really trying to figure out what it is that makes them what they are. But that is a difference in the film versus the movie too, because Robert Neville isn't really necessarily trying to figure out what went wrong. He's just trying to fix what happened. He knows that it's a virus that turns everybody into these mutant things, but there's not really too much talk about why it happened and like why they can't go into the sunlight and things like that. It's just more focused on finding a solution to the problem as opposed to focusing on the problem like it does in the book. I think those are the only connections that I've made for I Am Legend. They are quite different entities in themselves for sure, but let's talk about Last Man on Earth because there are a lot of similarities. So in this one, they are just vampires. In both the movie and the book, I Am Legend and Last Man on Earth, they use mirrors and garlic to deter the vampires and stakes to kill them. There is a character named Ben who shouts at Robert Neville, who knew him in real life before Ben got turned into a vampire. This is interesting because it kind of shows you that there is some semblance of remembrance of their past life when they've already turned into these things. But they do look like human in both the I Am Legend book and Last Man on Earth. And we find out immediately that they're vampires. Neville is like very depressed, but he still wants to live, and he's just kind of like going about his daily life, making steaks every day and, you know, boarding up the walls, and kind of like I Am Legend too. I mean, the same like routine. There is no community between the monsters in I Am Legend, the book, The Last Man on Earth. No community. They will kill each other, they will eat each other, they don't care. In I Am Legend, the movie, however, there is definitely a sense of community. They fight for one another if, like, Will Smith captures one of the females and one of the guys gets pissed. But in the book, too, there's no sense of community. He still brings dead bodies to the pit. He still kills his wife, and his wife still comes back from the dead. He does find another woman, and this is the only other woman that he has found that's, like, out during the day and can talk and communicate, so she seems human. But after doing certain tests, he finds out that she is somewhat infected. She or her group has developed a way to kind of suppress the illness, the vampirism, and be able to live some semblance of a normal life. What's interesting in this one, and the I Am Legend book specifically, is that once he finds out that there is this other community of like living dead, like they're vampires but they're still alive, and they can live somewhat of a normal life, he finds out that they are terrified of him because he, the human, is going around killing those half-alive, dead vampire things because he thinks that they're the vampires, even though they're like somewhat in between. And so it's just kind of like this interesting commentary on, I guess, societal norms, really, when you think about it. It's like what makes us go along with what we go along with, you know, like our morals, our values, the things that we do, what we think is okay, what we think is not okay. It really is just like that group mentality, right? And so once Robert Neville is outrun by these group of vampires, they become the dominant species, and all of a sudden they're the ones that make up the rules of society. So it's a very interesting, just to kind of analyze that in itself. And I'm not going to go into the ending because the ending is different from both films, but I definitely don't want to ruin it in case you guys do want to read this if you haven't before. What I will say is there are a few other differences as well, so let's talk about those. For one, there is more background on before the illness strikes about mosquitoes and dust storms and things like that. And so in the movie The Last Man on Earth, Kathy, his daughter, has like a net around her bed, but it's never really specified why. And so it's kind of interesting that you get a little bit more of the backstory in the book to kind of put the pieces together. Oh, you get a lot more scientific explanation as far as why garlic deters them, mirrors deter them, why stakes are used, why they can't go into sunlight. Like, you really do explore these things in a scientific way. I think this is different from I Am Legend the film because although, like I said, you get the end result of like, how do I fix this problem? You don't necessarily know what led to cause the monsters to become monsters. Whereas this one, you definitely get a lot of exploration into that concept and not at all about like, oh, how do I fix them? Very interesting. So I will say that they're all different in their own ways, absolutely. They're all different, but I would say that the book is definitely more like Last Man on Earth. A lot of it is very similar to Last Man on Earth, but there are some differences that make it worth reading. However, I will say that if you are planning on reading I Am Legend and you have not seen Last Man on Earth yet, for me, it kind of ruined the story watching Last Man on Earth first because I already knew what was going to happen. I don't know, I didn't get that like exciting anticipation not knowing what was going to happen. If you've seen I Am Legend the movie and you read this, totally two different stories. It's not going to ruin it at all. But read this and then watch Last Man on Earth would be my suggestion because I did feel like I wasn't as excited to read it because of that. Another thing I will say, what really bothered me about this, and this has nothing to do with the story other than like this specific publication of the book, is it says I Am Legend, right? By Richard Matheson. That's all it says. And I'm reading the book and I get halfway through and then I'm like, this is where the movie ends. I'm so confused. How is there still like a whole half a book left? And then I turn the page after a chapter, and then it starts talking about a circus. And I'm like, a circus? What is going on? Are there other stories? No, there's no other stories. I'm so confused. And then I go to the beginning for the table of contents, and it says I Am Legend, and then a bunch of other stories. So for me, I think that this specific publication of the book definitely ruined the ending because I didn't get that like build up to the ending. And then, oh my gosh, it's over. That was so good. I was just like, wait, how is there more after this? And then I'm like, oh, that was the ending. Well, that sucked, you know? So that really irritated me about this book specifically. And then the only other thing that I will say was that I felt like I've ruined it for myself by watching Last Man on Earth first, which sucked because I really would have liked to read it through Matheson's view and then watch the film. Also, another interesting fact, I did mention it in my other video, but if you haven't seen that one, was that Richard Matheson helped write Last Man on Earth and hated it. And so he changed his name in the credits and eventually they were changed back to Richard Matheson. But yeah, he hated Last Man on Earth, which is very interesting because I actually really loved that film and I thought it did a pretty good job of depicting the events in the book, but obviously not quite. I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Sometimes I feel like when you read a movie and then watch the book, no. I feel like sometimes when you watch the movie and then read the book, sometimes it can be like disappointing if you already know what's going to happen. Sometimes it's better to do it reverse. I don't know. But anyways, all in all, I really did enjoy the book. I do enjoy Matheson's writing, and I did think that probably the highlight of the book was going into like the scientific evidence behind why the vampires don't like garlic, can't go in the sunlight. That was very interesting. Definitely something special to check out. So if you haven't read I Am Legend, I highly suggest it. I'm going to leave my video comparing I Am Legend and Last Man on Earth at the end of this, so you guys can check that out if you're interested at all in that. Lastly, let me know down below, have you read I Am Legend? Have you seen I Am Legend? Have you seen Last Man on Earth? And if you have, which one is your favorite? Which one did you like? Which one did you not like? Let me know. And thank you so much for watching. That's it for this video, and I will see you on Thursday with another horror video. Bye, guys.